things that go bump in the night and the story of the Brown Lady of Rainham Hall, and how she met her untimely demise, where she haunts, and what she is doing now. And it takes me back to my childhood, my pretty. The story of the Bell Witch. Do you remember being 5 and being terrified of the Bell Witch? If not, I'm going to help you out. All right. Okay, man, we are back with things that go bump in the night. We've all heard this story. We've seen movies made from this story. We've had childhood books read to us from this story. We've had campfire stories about this story. I'm pretty sure it is in video games, and it is well encompassed in American and probably international lore. The ghost in the story of the Headless Horseman. Is it true? What really happened? Should we be terrified? And is he coming for you? Crazy. Let me go over these stories. I'm going to read a few, and we'll see what you guys think. Story number 1. Let's start with the Brown Lady of Rainham Hall. Who is she? The Brown Lady of Rainham Hall is one of the most famous ghost stories in England. The ghost is believed to be Lady Dorothy Walpole, the sister of Sir Robert Walpole. That's how I'm going to say it. Let me know if I'm wrong. Who served as the first Prime Minister of Great Britain. How did she die, you say? Allow me to share with you. Lady Dorothy reportedly died in 1726 under mysterious circumstances, because that's just the way it's gotta be to make it a cool ghost story, unless it's just outright slaughter. While the official cause of death was listed as smallpox, rumors persist that she was locked up by her husband, Charles Townshend, in Raymond Hall until she died of a broken heart. Some stories suggest she was pushed down a staircase or poisoned. Now I gotta tell you, that's like 3 different murder mysteries right there. Obviously, she couldn't, maybe she could go through all 3. Those of you from our brother, Great Britain, if you have a full version of this story, I would like to know what you think. Tell me the real story behind the ghost. Where does she haunt? Rainham Hall in Norfolk, England. The most famous sighting of the Brown Lady was captured in a photograph taken of 1936 by photographers from Country Life magazine. Odd to throw that right into the middle. The photograph appears to show a ghostly figure descending on a staircase. So now this brings us to one of the coolest parts of ghost stories. We have the photo. I've got the evidence. Science concludes this must be true. And if she went through like 3 different versions of dead, she's probably going to be a little bit pissed off, and she's probably going to be a little bit bitter on her male counterpart. So probably not one I want to go visit and be like, hey girl, what's up? Gruesome details. The visitors and staff at Rainham Hall have reported seeing a ghostly figure of a woman in a brown dress with a glowing face and empty eye sockets. Creepy! Empty eye sockets. The apparition is often seen wandering the halls and descending the staircase where her famous photograph was taken. The most chilling aspect of her appearance is the sheer terror she invokes in those who see her, often described as an overwhelming sense of dread and despair. I'm willing to bet she's got just a little bit of pissed off, and anybody that shows up, she might be willing to share that feeling with. Do you believe that? I don't know how I feel about all these things. So point in case, those of you that have a boyfriend, girlfriend, mom, dad, you got a family or someone special to you somewhere. Do you have to actually be facing them to know or to feel when they are some kind of pissed at you? We've all had these experiences where we walk into a room and you can see that somebody over there maybe is blowing up. They're super pissed off. It's not that you see it that is disturbing. I mean, it can be for sure. It's that the energy that they put off. It's that unspoken vibe where everybody that's anywhere near it is like, whoa, man, and you just start backing away, right? Because you don't want to be a part of that. You don't like the way it makes you feel. That's the key. You don't like the way it makes you feel. So it's within reason for me that if a ghost is a ghost and it's pissed off, I mean, that makes sense to me that these things could still be there and sharing those emotions, and that you could have that maybe imprinted, shared, put on you, something. I don't know, man. What do you think? You got to share with me. Have you guys been somewhere that you walked in and you knew you were not alone? Where you walked in and you're like, for some unknown reason, you get the creeps and you've got to go? Even as an adult, it makes sense. Is it possible? If you can't prove it's not, I guess you also can't prove that it is, which leaves you stuck somewhere in the middle, and here we sit. You know what? Maybe when we do these videos, we need to find a dark place out in Joshua Tree instead of campfire, and I'll just read ghost stories from a book. I don't know if you're into that. Let me know what you think on that one. All right, so the next story number 2, is the story of the Bell Witch. I don't know if you guys remember this story from childhood, but I do. Man, oh man, we're not, like, this is where things start moving into different categories, and I'm not really sure how these categories are layered, like a layered cake, but we've all heard the word poltergeist, right? That's like bad ghost, really bad ghost on steroids. I probably way oversimplified that because I'm not a poltergeistologist. So, the Bell Witch is a legendary poltergeist from Adams, Tennessee, believed to be the spirit of a woman named Kate Batts. The legend dates back to the early 19th century and revolves around the Bell family. How she died. Kate Batts was a neighbor of the Bell family and was a neighbor said member, I thought. Okay, was a neighbor of the Bell family and was reportedly involved in a land dispute with John Bell. After her death, she allegedly cursed the Bell family, vowing to haunt them. Now, the last sentence, that seems a little odd to me. I believe a lot of things are possible, but it says here, after her death, she allegedly cursed the Bell family, vowing to haunt them. The ghost gets up and has the strength and energy to lay these curses, especially like when you get into the witches. So let's assume this is true. The spirit, the ghost, gets up and says, I curse you. Where does she haunt to this day? The Bell Witch Cave. We're talking about a witch. Now we're talking about a poltergeist. Now we're talking about a really angry poltergeist witch. And now we bring in the word cave. I mean, if this isn't creepy soup, I don't know what is. All right, so the Bell Witch Cave and the former Bell family farm in Adams, Tennessee. The haunting began in 1817 and continued for several years, making it one of the best documented cases of supernatural activity. We're gonna have to look more into this. I may have to come back and do like a full episode on the Bell Witch Cave and haunting. The gruesome details. The Bell Witch tormented the Bell family with terrifying manifestations, including physical assaults, disembodied voices, and poltergeist activity. John Bell, the family patriarch, was reportedly poisoned by the witch. That's some crazy stuff, man. His death is said to have been caused by a mysterious vial of black liquid found near his body. The witch claimed responsibility for his death and continued. So get this, the witch physically, like a terrorist after an attack on who knows what, claims responsibility. How does it do that? Like, not only has it been dead for a while, not only is it now magically poisoned somebody, directly or indirectly, we have poltergeist activity, disembodied voices, physical assaults, like marks and who knows what else. Now it kills somebody, and then what does it do? It stands up and goes, I did it. All of this stuff has the makes for super crazy stories. Hell hath no fury like that of a scorned woman. I mean, that's the story right there. So the witch claimed responsibility for the death and continued to haunt the family even after his demise. The Bell Witch Cave, where the spirit is said to reside, remains a popular destination for paranormal enthusiasts. I heard different versions of this as a kid, where she haunted families and, you know, did all possessed bodies. And is it possible? Is it not? I mean, even in like religion, in Catholic Church, in Islam, they refer to the genie. I don't know if it's in the holy books, but in Arab lore, the genie came out of the desert, and it was an evil spirit. You know, now we have our take on it, and we have funny genies and happy genies, but the genie back then was a trickster. Every culture around the world throughout time has these stories. Is it just global millennia long mom and pop stories told simply to get children in bed at night? Or like every lie, could there also possibly be some truth to it? And if so, how much? Okay, so now the one that we definitely heard about growing up, you and I. The ghost of the Headless Horseman. This we've seen in childhood cartoons, we've seen full-blown movies. Like, this is one of those images that when you read that title, I'm betting every single one of you immediately had an image of some man-like figure missing its head, or maybe with a pumpkin head that was blazing eyes on fire and a sword in his hand, riding this huge black stallion with fire going out its eyeballs and fire going out its mouth, riding across the bridge, and you knew if you stepped onto that bridge, wham, you were done. All right, so who he is. The Headless Horseman is a legendary figure from the American folktale, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Yes, we know that, right? Written by Washington Irving, the character is believed to be the ghost of a Hessian soldier who fought for the British during the American Revolutionary War. Super cool kind of backstory there, because the Hessian soldiers of the time were brutal. They were the modern day mercenaries. These guys were to go out and do everything they didn't want to do, and they feared nothing. So the fact that they made that guy the Headless Horseman makes perfect sense to me. How he died, according to the legend, the Hessian soldier lost his head to a cannonball during the Battle of the White Plains in 1776. His comrades hastily buried his body, leaving his head behind. The ghost is said to rise from his grave at night in search of his missing head. Now, can you imagine as a party favor, you're hanging out, everything's good, you're having drinks one night, then you mount your horse, you go to battle, and you're out doing the things you do in war. One minute, your head is there, the next minute there's a bang, an explosion of powder, and then a cannonball removes your head. Do you know in that moment you died? Is your spirit aware, or is it fully aware and it's angry? In this case, I don't know if he knows he's dead because he's still looking for his head. I mean, we can take this in a lot of directions, assuming we buy the truth in this story. Kind of interesting. Where he haunts. The village of Sleepy Hollow in New York. The ghost is famously associated with the Sleepy Hollow Cemetery and Old Dutch Church, where he is said to roam the grounds on horseback. Can you imagine being a group of kids camping out one day, sitting out there telling the story of the legend of Sleepy Hollow, and there's the bridge where it happened? I mean, it still works at any campfire with kids to this day. In fact, I'm gonna have to go camping with mine and make sure I share the story with them, because that's just fun. Gruesome details. The Headless Horseman is described as a menacing figure, dressed in a military uniform, riding a black horse, carrying his severed head under his arm. Wait, scratch that, rewind. Didn't we just say he wakes up every day looking for his head? And now he's carrying it under his arm? Feel like there's a disconnect here. Thus, the lack of credibility to some of these stories. However, we know with this one, it was written in the beginning by an author and is not claimed to be true. All right, continuity's not working here, but I like it. Uniform, riding a black horse, carrying his severed head under his arm, because that probably looks cooler. He is known to chase unwary travelers through the dark, eerie woods of Sleepy Hollow. The most famous encounter involves Ichabod Crane. Oh my God, do you remember that guy, the school teacher? I remember this. Wow, the tall, skinny dude, at least in the cartoon, I think, where I saw him first. Terrified, and he kept trying to lop off his head. But I think it was because he was trying to take his head. Why would he take his head if he already had his head under his arm? Maybe it's a collection of heads. Maybe like ears or teeth or things they did back then. I don't know. All right, so Ichabod Crane, the school teacher who is pursued by the Headless Horseman. One fateful night. The horseman hurls his head at Ichabod, causing him to disappear mysteriously. Interesting. The horseman's chilling presence is often accompanied by the sound of galloping hooves and the whoosh of his spectered steel as he rides through the night, seeking vengeance and his lost head. The tale has inspired countless adaptations and remains one of America's most enduring ghost stories. These stories illustrate the dark and eerie aspects of ghost lore, blending historical facts with supernatural elements to create enduring legends. How many of you have had a sleepover, you've been with your buddies as kids and maybe even as teenagers, where you sit down and everybody breaks out the best ghost story they've heard? I love it. I nerd out on this stuff, and I think that some of you in the family here at Fanward will absolutely enjoy it as much as I do. So if there is a things story, things ethereal, supernatural, cryptozoological, anything super terrifying or creepy or not understood that you would like me to do an episode on, I would love to do it. Just know that right now. Send us a message, whatever it is, email, and tell me, what other crazy stories should I look up? I would love to do more of these, and I will do more of these. I will be back with another episode of Things very soon. Much love.